chosen one. Yes, you. The one who felt the number move a moment ago, before you had any reason to know why. Before we begin, do something for me. Sit down. If there's a door near you, close it. Put your phone face down on the table, screen against the wood, where no notification can reach in and reprice your attention while we talk. Unclench your jaw. You didn't notice you were holding it. And breathe out, all the way out. Not the shallow one you take between tasks, the long one, the one that empties you completely. And let the next breath arrive on its own, unhurried, like it has nowhere else it needs to be. Good. That's the chosen one I'm speaking to. Now listen, because tonight something was corrected. Somewhere, a person who thought they knew exactly what you were worth pulled up the number, and the number had moved without their permission, and a desk somewhere went cold. Now we can talk. They priced you low. I want you to hear those words with your whole body, because you have been arguing with them for years without knowing they were the truth. They priced you low, and they did it on purpose, and the purpose was never a mystery to them, even while it stayed a mystery to you. The low number kept you close. The low number kept you grateful. The low number kept you exactly where you were, doing exactly what you did for exactly what they were willing to pay. Because a person who believes they are worth a little does not go looking for a room that would pay them a lot. And this week, the market went cold on that whole arrangement. Not loudly, that's the part I need you to understand. There was no announcement, no correction printed anywhere you could point to. Maybe a name came up in a conversation you were not part of, and the number attached to that name was 3 times what they have been paying you. Maybe someone who left the building last year is suddenly worth a fortune doing exactly what you do down the hall for a fraction. Maybe a person you barely know said a sentence about you in a room that sets prices, and the sentence contained a figure, and the figure did not match the discount you have been living under. But somewhere, quietly, the market repriced you, and the people who set the old price felt it land like a cold draft under a door they thought was sealed. For years, they looked at you and saw a bargain. That's the word, a bargain. They looked at your loyalty and read it as a low reservation price. They looked at the way you carried more than you were paid to carry, and instead of raising the number, they lowered it in their minds. Because a person who gives you extra for free teaches you they can be had for less. They built everything on that. Every budget, every plan that assumed you would stay. The whole comfortable structure rested on one assumption, and the assumption was simple. This one does not know the price. This one will not check the market. This week, that assumption broke. And chosen one, before we go one step further, let me set something down for you, because you have been carrying its opposite for a long time. No, you were not being paid what you were worth and imagining otherwise. No, the ache you felt every time you did the work of 3 people and got the recognition of none. That ache was not entitlement. It was accuracy. Some quiet instrument in you kept reading a value the invoice refused to print, and you overrode that instrument again and again because everyone around you spoke as if the low number were the true one. It was not. You were not underappreciated by accident. You were underpriced by design. If this is landing where it's supposed to land, chosen one, do one small thing. Tap the like and subscribe. Not for me. This message goes further when it moves. And somewhere out there is a person doing the work of 3 for the pay of 1, staring at the same low number, quietly wondering if they are the problem. This reaches them when it travels. Pay it forward to them. That's the whole mission. Now, let me tell you what has actually been happening while you kept your head down and delivered. There is a very old move, and it is so common that most people who run it could not tell you they are running it. You keep a valuable thing cheap so that no one else bids on it. You do not raise the price of something you want to keep, because the moment you raise it, you tell the whole market it is worth raising, and the whole market comes looking. So you hold the number down. You praise the person instead of paying them. You give them titles that cost nothing and raises that never quite reach the market, always just enough to keep them from leaving and never enough to remind them what they could command. You make the discount feel like a home, and you pray, quietly, that they never check. You were that thing, chosen one, held cheap so no one would bid. Here is the line they can't say out loud. We didn't underpay you because you were worth little. We underpaid you because you were worth too much to let anyone else find out. Say that to yourself twice. Underpaying you was not an insult to your value. It was a strategy built entirely around your value. Nobody hoards a thing that is truly worthless. Nobody works this hard to keep a bargain quiet unless they know, better than you do, that it is not really a bargain at all. It is a mispricing, and mispricings only stay profitable for the one holding them as long as the other side never runs the numbers. You just ran the numbers, or the market ran them for you. Either way, the discount is over. Now, look around your own life for a moment. Not the big story, the small rooms, because this law does not live only where you live it. It is everywhere ordinary people decide that keeping something cheap is easier than paying it fairly. Only the costumes change. There is an office somewhere right now where the most capable person in the building has been the lowest line in the budget for years. Everyone leans on them. Nothing ships without them. And precisely because nothing ships without them, they are never promoted, because it is cheaper to keep the irreplaceable person exactly where they are and call it stability. Then one day, that person answers a message from outside, out of idle curiosity, and the number that comes back is so far above their salary that they have to read it twice. And they go very quiet at their desk, and the whole building can feel that something changed, though no one can name it yet. There is a family somewhere where one person always shows up, drives the distance, covers the shortfall, absorbs the crisis. And because they always do it, it stops being seen as generosity and starts being counted on as a fixed cost that arrives for free. Nobody thanks the utility that never fails until the one season they finally cannot show up, and the whole system that ran on their unpaid labor suddenly discovers the price of the thing it never paid for. And there are whole industries where the person doing the actual work is priced as a cost, and the person taking the credit is priced as a value, until the day the worker walks and the value evaporates behind them, and everyone finally sees which one was holding the thing up. So here is the law underneath all of it. Price is a story the buyer tells. Value is a fact the market eventually finds. A price can be set by one person in one room for their own convenience, and held low by a story repeated until even the person being priced believes it. But value does not answer to that story. Value is what the whole cold, indifferent market will pay when it finally gets a clear look at what you actually are. And the gap between those two numbers, the private low price and the public true value, that gap has your name on it. And this week, it stopped being invisible. Chosen one, you have been living inside that gap for a very long time. Which raises the obvious problem. If your true value was always higher, why did you never feel it? Why did the low number feel so much like the truth? because a price you hear every day becomes a fact in your body. Tell someone what they are worth often enough, quietly, through what you pay and what you withhold, and they stop hearing it as an offer and start hearing it as reality. The low number was not just on your paycheck. It moved into your posture. It shaped what rooms you thought you were allowed to enter, how quickly you apologized for taking up space. You did not just accept the discount, you became the discount. That is the deepest part of the trick. Not that they underpaid you, that they got you to sign the low appraisal in your own hand. And now, before we go any further, this is the part where the room thins out. Some of you came here out of curiosity. You saw the title. You felt a small pull. You clicked. There is no judgment in that. But right around now, the merely curious start to drift. This stops being a comfortable idea and starts being a specific accusation against a specific arrangement in a specific life. And specific is uncomfortable when it lands on your own low number. So they go looking for the next thing, the next voice, the next promise. Let them go. This was never built to hold everyone. The ones this was made for are doing the opposite. You are leaning in. You got quieter. Something in your chest went still, the way it does when a stranger says out loud the number you were too afraid to say to yourself. If that is you, chosen one, do this one thing. Go down to the comments and drop the number 999. Just that. Not for luck, not because it is trending. 999, the completion number, the end of a cycle, the last figure before everything rolls over into something new. Drop it as a signal, plain and simple, that the old cycle is finished for you, that the discount is closing, that you are locked in to hear this all the way to the correction. Consider it a hand raised in a quiet room full of underpriced people. I will see it, others will see it, and they will know they were never the only one holding a value the invoice refused to print. And while you are there, the like and the subscribe keep this reaching the people who need it. Here is what comes next. Not more comfort. 12 pieces, laid out in order, precise and step by step, showing you exactly how the price was held down, who was holding it, and why the correction is already too far along to reverse. Number 1. The moment the price changed. They did not go cold because of what you asked for. They went cold because of what they finally reread. What happened at that desk had almost nothing to do with anything you did. You were standing there thinking you had finally pushed too hard, asked for too much, overplayed a hand you were never sure you held. You replayed the conversation. You wondered which sentence tipped it. It was none of them. The chill did not come from your request. It came from their arithmetic. Because in that instant, a number they had kept comfortably small got compared to a number out in the world, and the two did not match, and could not be made to match, and the difference was enormous. For years, the low figure sat in the budget looking reasonable, looking settled, looking like a fact of nature, and then, all at once, it sat next to what you would actually cost to replace, what you would actually earn somewhere that had done the math, and the gap opened up under them like a floor giving way. That is repricing. It does not arrive slowly, it arrives all at once, the way a market that has been asleep on a stock wakes up in a single morning and moves the whole position before lunch. Imagine this. A shopkeeper who bought a dusty painting years ago for almost nothing, hung it in the back where the light is bad, and stopped seeing it entirely. It was part of the wall. Then one afternoon a stranger stops in front of it and goes very still and asks, keeping the voice level, whether it might be for sale. And in that single question, the shopkeeper feels the temperature of the whole store change. He does not yet know the number. He only knows from the stillness in the stranger's body that the thing on his back wall was never what he paid for it, and that he has been walking past a fortune for years, treating it like part of the plaster. That is what happened at that desk. Not a threat. A stranger's stillness. Someone, somewhere, looked at you the way that collector looked at the painting, and the person who owned the discount felt the market walk into the room. You might wonder why the reaction was so severe when nothing was taken from them in that moment. Because the loss was not in front of them, it was behind them. They were not calculating what you might cost going forward. They were recalculating everything you had already been worth and everything they had already gotten for a fraction of it. And that is a far worse feeling, chosen one, because you cannot renegotiate the past. It is already spent. They realized in one breath that they had been running up a debt, one underpaid month at a time, to a person who was finally about to find out the real price. Here is the line they can't say out loud. We didn't lose a good employee today. We found out what we've owed one for years. That is why the desk went cold, not anger, exposure. The number was where they thought it was until it wasn't, and now every figure in the budget has to be tested again. No, you did not miss a step. No, you did not ask for too much. You simply stood in a place where your real value could finally be seen, and the seeing was never yours to control. The cold was not a warning, it was a correction. Number 2, the anchor was set on purpose. What felt like your worth was a number somebody chose early and worked to keep from moving. They called your pay fair. They said it with a small nod, the kind that closes a subject. Market rate. Competitive. What the role pays, as if the role were a law of physics and not a decision made by a person who benefited from the decision. It was not fair. It was an anchor. Here is what an anchor is and why it worked on you for so long. The first number you hear about your own worth becomes the number everything else is measured against, even when the first number was chosen precisely to be low. Every raise after that is calculated as a percentage of the anchor, which means a low start guarantees a low everything forever, no matter how much you grow. You could triple your output and still only ever get a slice of a figure that was set small on your first day by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. You got better every year, took on more every year, and somehow the number never caught up. Always a modest adjustment to a figure that was rigged to stay small. The anchor does not measure your value. The anchor imprisons it. Imagine this: a rare coin, worth a fortune to anyone who knows coins, sitting in a jar of ordinary change on a shelf. Whoever put it there did not do it by accident. They know what it is. But they also know that the moment they take it out and treat it like the treasure it is, everyone in the house will start to wonder what else on that shelf has been mispriced. So they leave it in the jar on purpose, surrounded by pennies, because the safest place to hide a valuable thing is inside a low price nobody thinks to question. You were the coin in the jar, chosen one, kept among the pennies, not because you belonged there, because belonging there was profitable to someone else. So you might wonder why they cannot simply raise you now, quietly, and make the whole thing go away. Because the anchor cuts both ways. The moment they raise you to your real value, they confess that the old number was never real, and every low number they set by the same method suddenly looks like what it was. Correcting your price honestly would mean admitting the whole shelf was mispriced. That is why the correction terrifies them more than a raise ever could. A raise is a cost. A correction is an exposure. Here is the line they can't say out loud. If we pay this one what they're worth, everyone will ask what they're worth. Notice what that means for you going forward. You do not have to argue your value up from the anchor point by point, defending each increment like a beggar. That was always a rigged negotiation because it started from their number. You get to throw the anchor out entirely and ask the only question that was ever real. Not what have they been paying me? What am I actually worth out there in the cold, clear market that has no reason to keep me cheap? That question is not an insult. It is a repricing. And a repricing, once it starts, does not stop at one line item. Number 3. Kept close because you were undervalued. The low price was not neglect. It was a fence. You have wondered in the honest hours why they held on to you so tightly while paying you so little. It felt contradictory. If you were worth so little to them, why the quiet resistance every time you thought about leaving? Why the sudden warmth, the small gesture, the vague promise, exactly when you started looking at the door? It did not add up, and you filed it under mixed signals and moved on. It added up perfectly. You were undervalued, which is precisely why you had to be kept close. Here is the mechanism, and it is old as trade itself. When you are holding an asset the market has not correctly priced, your entire advantage depends on it staying where it is. The last thing you want is for that asset to go out into the open and discover its own value in the bidding. So you build a fence. Not a wall, a fence you can call a home. You make leaving feel disloyal and staying feel safe. You offer just enough, just often enough, to keep the asset from wandering to a market that would price it correctly. The generosity you occasionally felt was never generosity. It was fence maintenance. Imagine this: a man who owns a spring of extraordinary water, sweeter than anything for 100 miles, and who sells it for the price of ordinary water. His neighbors think he is a fool. He is not. He prices it low for one reason only, so that no one is ever tempted to come and find the spring itself. A fair price would draw men with maps and money who would trace the water to its source and take the whole thing out of his hands. So he keeps the price low and the spring hidden, and every low sale is a small payment he makes to keep the world from noticing what he is standing on. The low price was never about the water's worth. It was a fence around the source. And before we go any deeper, chosen one, do one small thing. If this is landing where it was meant to land, drop 999 in the comments. Not for me, but as a quiet hand raised in a crowded room. A way of saying, I am here. I am one of the ones this was written for. 999. The number of a cycle finishing, a season closing on time, a thing completed. Leave it below and let the next chosen one see they are not the only one who stayed. You were the spring, chosen one, priced low so no one would come looking for the source. You might wonder why, if they valued you so much, it felt so much like being taken for granted. Because being fenced and being cherished feel identical from the inside, and only one of them is real. The person building the fence cannot afford to show you your value. Showing it would undo the whole point. So the care arrived disguised as habit, as the quiet assumption that of course you would stay. What you experienced as being overlooked was the exact texture of being hoarded. Here is the line they can't say out loud. We were never afraid you'd fail. We were afraid you'd find out you could leave. So no, you were not clingy for feeling trapped in a place that undervalued you. You felt the fence because there was a fence, built by people who understood, more clearly than you did, that the only thing standing between you and your real price was your belief that this was as good as it gets. The fence is down now, not because they lowered it, because you finally saw over it. Number 4. Why nobody told you your number. Information about your value was the one thing they could never afford to give you. You have wondered why nobody ever just told you. In all those years, no honest voice at the top of the table saying, "Listen, you are worth far more than we pay you. You should know that." It never came. And you took the silence as confirmation that there was nothing to tell, that if you were really worth more, surely someone would have said so. That silence was not the absence of information. It was the most carefully guarded information in the building. Here is what most people never learn about being underpriced. The gap between what you are paid and what you are worth is only profitable to the other side as long as you cannot see it. The instant you see the gap, it starts to close, because you cannot unknow a number. So the gap has to be protected, and you protect it by controlling what the person inside it is allowed to know. You keep pay a secret. You discourage comparison. You frame curiosity about your worth as disloyalty, as greed, as not being a team player. Every one of those norms exists to keep you from ever standing next to the number that would end the arrangement. Imagine this: a trading floor where one man has a screen showing the real prices, and everyone he trades with has been kept away from any screen at all. He does not have to lie. He simply keeps them in a room with no window on the market and trades against them all day long. His entire edge is not skill. It is the window. He can see the prices and they cannot. And as long as that stays true, he wins every exchange without telling a single lie. The moment one of them glimpses a real screen, his whole business ends. Not because he did anything new, but because the information moved. You were traded against for years, chosen one, by people whose only real advantage was that you could not see the screen. So why did none of them ever slip and tell you? Because a person who tells you your true worth is handing you the one thing that costs them the most. It is not cruelty that kept them quiet, it is arithmetic. The silence was not them failing to advocate for you, it was them protecting a position. And the position was the gap between your price and your value. Here is the line they can't say out loud. The most expensive thing we could ever give this person is an honest number. And now you have one. That is what actually changed this week. Not your worth. Your worth was always there. What changed is that you finally saw the screen. And a person who has seen the screen cannot be traded against the old way ever again. They cannot make you unsee the number. That is a thing you cannot undiscover. Number 5, the raises that kept you just under. Every adjustment was calculated to hold you, not to reach you. Think about the raises, the ones that came. You were grateful for them, and you should not be ashamed of that gratitude. It was real, and a raise is a raise. But look now at their timing and their size, and see the pattern that was always underneath them. They tended to arrive exactly when you were quietest about wanting more, or exactly when you had started, however faintly, to look around. And they tended to be just enough. Enough to feel seen, enough to reset your patience, never enough to close the gap. That was not coincidence, that was calibration. Here is the mechanism, and once you see it, you will see it everywhere. When you are holding someone below their market value, your goal is not to pay them fairly. Fair is the whole thing you are avoiding. Your goal is to pay the smallest amount that keeps them from leaving. That number is a moving target, rising a little each time they grow, each time they get restless. So you watch for the signs of departure. Release just enough to reset the countdown and go quiet again. Each raise was not a step toward your worth. It was a payment made to delay your worth. It bought them another year of the discount. Imagine this: a man leading a strong horse on a rope, and every so often the horse pulls, feeling the wider field, wanting the open ground. Each time it pulls, he lets out exactly one hand's length of rope, just enough that the pulling stops. And the horse, feeling the give, believes it is slowly being set loose, when in truth it is being managed, one measured length at a time, always kept within reach, always a full field short of where it could run. The rope was never getting shorter. It was being paid out in the smallest amounts that would keep the horse from bolting. You were on that rope, chosen one. Every raise was a hand's length, measured precisely to keep you from running to a field that would have taken you at your full price. You might wonder whether that means the raises were meaningless. No, they were meaningful as information, because a raise given to retain you is an admission in the only language they were willing to speak, that they were afraid of losing you. You do not pay to keep something you could easily replace. Every retention raise was a confession of your leverage, handed to you disguised as a favor. They told you your power every time they moved to contain it. You just read the gift and missed the message underneath. Here is the line they can't say out loud. We never gave them a raise. We paid a fee to keep the market from finding them. So, no, you were not greedy for feeling that it was never quite enough. It was engineered to never be quite enough. Enough would have set you free, and setting you free was the one outcome the whole system was built to prevent. The rope is slack now, chosen one, and a horse that has felt the whole length of the rope stops mistaking it for the size of the field. Number 6. The comparison arrived. The market re-rated your whole category, and there is no keeping the news outside the door. For a long time, you had nothing to measure yourself against. That was not an accident either, but set that aside for a moment. The point is, you were alone with the low number, and a number you cannot compare is a number you cannot argue with. It just sits there, being the truth. You had no comp, no clean example of what someone exactly like you, doing exactly what you do, was actually worth in a market that priced it honestly. And then the comparison arrived. It always does. Here is how a correction spreads and why it cannot be contained. Value does not stay secret forever, because value is useful, and useful things get noticed, and noticed things get bid on, and bids become public numbers. Somewhere, someone in your category got paid what they were worth, out loud, where it could be seen, and that number became a fact that could travel. It reached you, and the moment you had one real comp, the low number stopped being the truth and started being what it always was, an outlier, a discount, a single low price surrounded now by evidence of the real one. Imagine this: a street of houses, and for years everyone on it believed their homes were worth very little because none of them had sold in a long time, and the last sale anyone remembered was cheap. They lived inside that low number. They made their plans around it. And then one house on the street sold, openly, at a price that stunned the whole block. And overnight, every homeowner understood that they had been sitting on far more than they thought. Nobody's house changed. Not a nail moved. What changed is that a single honest sale set a comp, and a comp cannot be unseen. The whole street repriced itself between morning and night on the strength of one number that finally saw daylight. That is what happened to your whole category, chosen one. One comp got out, and the old low price died the moment it had something honest to stand next to. You might wonder why this feels less like triumph and more like grief, at least at first. Because a comp does not only tell you what you are worth now, it tells you what you were worth all along, every underpaid year of it, and there is a real mourning in that. Let that grief move through, it is honest. But the comp did not rob you of the past, it ended your exile from the truth. Here is the line they can't say out loud. We could keep them underpaid as long as they didn't know what the job was worth. Now they know. So no, you were not naive for believing the low number for so long. You had nothing to compare it to, and a number with no comp is a prison with no window. The window is open now. The comp is in. And a market that has seen a true price does not go back to pretending it never did. Number 7. The bill for undervaluing you. What it actually costs to replace you is the number they have been avoiding for years. Here is the part they never let themselves calculate, because calculating it would have forced their hand. The low price you were paid was never the real cost of you. It was the cost of keeping you. The real cost of you is the replacement cost, what they would have to spend all at once to reconstruct everything you quietly hold together. And that number is a monster, and they have kept it in a drawer they refuse to open, because opening it would end the fantasy that the discount was ever sustainable. Think about what you actually carry that never showed up on any invoice. The things only you know. The relationships that root through you. The problems that never became problems because you caught them upstream while everyone slept. The judgment that took years to build and cannot be hired in a quarter. None of that was priced because pricing it would have revealed the debt. So it accumulated off the books, one uncounted contribution at a time, until the true bill for undervaluing you grew into something no budget was ever set aside to pay. Imagine this, an old building held up, in part, by a single beam buried in a wall, carrying more of the weight than the blueprint ever admitted. For decades, it costs nothing. It simply holds. And because it costs nothing, no one budgets for it. No one imagines the day it might have to be replaced. And then that day comes, and the estimate to replace what it was silently carrying is catastrophic, because the whole structure had been quietly leaning on the one thing nobody was paying for. The building did not get more expensive overnight. The true cost of the beam was always that high. It was just never on a bill until the beam was ready to leave. You were that beam, chosen one, carrying more of the weight than the blueprint admitted, priced at nothing, until the day the estimate to replace you finally had to be written down. Because a debt you never write down does not feel like a debt. It feels like free. The whole seduction of undervaluing someone is that the bill never seems to come, right up until it comes all at once, with interest, at the worst possible time. They were not being strategic by keeping you cheap. They were running a tab and mistaking an unpaid tab for a saving, which is the oldest financial error there is. Here is the line they can't say out loud. We can't afford to lose them, and we made sure of that ourselves, one underpaid year at a time. So no, you were not imagining how much you carried. You carried exactly as much as it will cost them to replace it, and that number is the truest appraisal of your worth anyone ever made. They just made it in a drawer they hoped you would never open. The drawer is open now, and a bill, once seen, cannot be unsent. Number 8. The ones who priced you right. While one buyer kept you cheap, Others were quietly noting your real number. Here is something you were never meant to know, and it changes the whole board. The buyer who underpriced you was not the only one looking. They were simply the only one who profited from you believing they were. All that time, in rooms you were not in, other people were watching what you did and privately assigning it a value, the correct one. They did not tell you. Why would they? Your low price was as useful to a future bidder as it was to your current one. But they saw. They kept a number on you, and that number was never the discount. Understand who these people are. They are the ones who noticed the problem you solved that nobody else could, who remembered your name when a hard thing got done and the credit went elsewhere. The ones who, when your name comes up now, do not repeat the low number they heard. They say the real one, the one they calculated themselves, while everyone around them accepted the bargain. You have a valuation out there that you did not set and were never shown, held by people who priced you correctly while you were being sold cheap. Imagine this. A young painter selling canvases on a street for the price of the paint, believing that is what the work is worth, because that is what the passing crowd will pay. And in that crowd, more than once, stands someone who knows exactly what they are looking at, a real collector, who buys a canvas for almost nothing and walks away holding a fortune. The painter thinks they made an ordinary sale, but somewhere in a private room, that canvas now hangs at its true value, appraised by someone who knew the whole time. The low street price was never the painting's value. It was just the only number the painter could see. There are collectors of you, chosen one, people who priced you right in private, while you were being sold cheap in public. If these people saw your value, you might ask, why did they never rescue you from the low price? Because a correct valuation is not a rescue, it is a position. They were doing exactly what a market does, holding their reed close, waiting for the moment the mispricing corrected on its own. And now that it is correcting, watch who reaches out. Watch which quiet person who never made a fuss over you suddenly moves when the discount ends. Those are the ones who had your real number written down the whole time. Here is the line they can't say out loud. We always knew what they were worth. We were just glad someone else was paying to keep them available. So no, you were not invisible in those rooms. You were appraised. You spent years believing the low buyer was the only buyer, and it was never true. There was always a truer number held by truer eyes, and it is stepping forward now. Number 9. Their sleepless recount. They are not angry tonight. They are adding up what the discount actually cost them, and the number will not sit still. Something changed in the ones who underpriced you the moment the correction became real. It was not rage. Rage would be simpler. What settled on them instead was arithmetic, a slow, private, unending recount. They went back to the beginning and started tallying what keeping you cheap had actually cost, now that keeping you cheap was ending. Because here is what they are only now forced to see. The discount was never free to them either. Every year they underpaid you, they were building a person with more and more leverage and less reason to stay. They were manufacturing the exact departure they feared, one underpaid month at a time, teaching you that this place would take everything and return the minimum. The very strategy that saved them money was quietly loading the spring that would launch you out the door. And now they are back at the ledger, trying to find the single afternoon where a real raise would have kept you cheap to lose. Imagine this. A man who kept a fire burning all winter on the cheapest fuel he could find, proud of every dollar saved, never pricing in what the cheap fuel was doing to the chimney. And spring comes, and the chimney fails all at once, and the repair costs more than every winter of savings combined. So he sits with his ledger, adding and re-adding, trying to locate the exact cord of wood where thrift turned into ruin. But there is no single cord. It was the whole method, every cheap choice compounding quietly in the flue where he never looked. The savings were always real and always small. The cost was always real and always hidden, and it arrived in one unpayable lump. That is where they live now, chosen one, recounting a winter of savings against a bill that dwarfs all of it. They cannot simply accept it and move on, because there is nothing clean to accept. A single mistake can be forgiven, but there was never one moment. There were years of small underpayments, each one reasonable on its own, all of them compounding into a debt with no single author and no single afternoon to undo. And a person who cannot locate their mistake cannot stop looking for it. So the count circles and circles and does not resolve. Here is the line they can't say out loud. Every dollar we saved on them was a dollar of reason we gave them to leave. Notice what that recount costs them, chosen one. Their attention is now split. Part of them is running the business, and part of them is back in some ordinary budget meeting from 3 years ago, rereading the raise they denied, feeling the cold of it. A person auditing their own thrift is not competing with you in the present. They have taken themselves off the board and do not know it yet. Let them keep counting. The savings were never as real as they thought, and the bill was always exactly as large as you. Number 10. They cannot re-anchor you. You can unknow almost anything except a price you have finally seen. Here is the thing nobody says out loud about a correction. Once a mispriced thing has been repriced, it does not go back. You can argue with a value, you can pressure a person, you can wait out a mood, but you cannot make someone unknow a number they have seen with their own eyes. The low anchor worked for one reason and one reason only, that you had never stood next to the real figure. That condition is gone now, permanently, and it cannot be restored. They will try to reframe. They will remind you of loyalty, of history, of everything they have done for you, quietly leaving out the number. They will offer a raise that finally moves, not to your value, but to somewhere between the old anchor and the truth, hoping the halfway number feels like a lot next to the discount you are used to. It is a good bet against the person you were last month. It is a losing bet against the person who has seen the screen. Imagine this. A merchant who has sold a family the same goods at a marked up price for years, easily, because the family never once went to another market. And then one day, the family walks through a fair town over and sees the true prices laid out plainly on every table. They come home changed, and the merchant tries everything, reminds them of the relationship, of the convenience, offers a small discount off the old inflated number as if it were a favor. But it is over, because you cannot sell an inflated price to someone who has stood in the fair. The relationship did not end. The information changed, and information does not walk backward. They cannot walk your number backward, chosen one. You have stood in the fair. They will try to find someone cheaper and start the whole arrangement over with a fresh person who does not know the screen. But the replacement will cost more than the discount they lost. Will take years to know what you know, and will, in time, walk through their own fair and learn their own real number. Because the fair is always there, and the screen always turns on eventually. The strategy of underpricing does not fail once. It fails structurally. every time, forever. Because value is a fact, and secrets have a shelf life. Here is the line they can't say out loud. We can't put the number back, and we can't afford the number that's true. So let them reframe. Let them remind you of history. Let them offer the halfway figure and call it a leap. You are not negotiating up from the anchor anymore. The anchor is gone. You are pricing from the real number now, the one you finally saw. And a person pricing from the real number cannot be re-anchored to a lie they have already outgrown. Number 11. You were never a bargain. Nobody guards a bargain. They guard an asset they got mispriced. There is a posture you have carried for a long time, and it is time to set it down. The posture of the lucky one, the one who feels they are being generously overpaid at the low number, who works twice as hard to justify a wage that was already a fraction of their worth, who lives in quiet fear that any day now someone will realize they are not worth even this much. You have been operating as though the discount were a gift you had to keep earning, when the discount was a profit someone else was quietly taking. But look at how they treated you, not what they paid you, and the truth is plain. You do not fence in a bargain. You do not fight to keep something that is easy to replace. You do not run a whole quiet strategy to hold on to a thing that is worth what you pay for it. The effort spent on keeping you was never the effort of people who got a good deal on someone ordinary. It was the effort of people managing an asset they knew was mispriced, terrified of the day the price would find its level. Every fence, every calibrated raise, every guarded silence was a confession that you were never the bargain. You were the mispricing, and they were the ones profiting from it. Imagine this: a wire running through the wall of an old house, no lamp plugged into it, no glow anywhere, looking for all the world like dead copper in the plaster. For years, it seems worthless, a thing you could cut out and throw away. But the current was in it the entire time, full and live, waiting only for contact. The wire was never becoming valuable. It was live from the first day, carrying its full charge through every year it was treated like nothing. The low appearance was never the truth of the wire. The charge was the truth, and the charge was always at full. That is you, chosen one. You did not become valuable when the market corrected. You were carrying the full charge the whole time. Through every year you were priced like dead copper. So why did they let you keep believing you were the lucky one, the overpaid one, the barely worth it one? Because a person who thinks they are lucky to be here works harder and asks for less than a person